Welcome back. If you are just joining us, this is INX Prime Live. Remember, we are on your screens every single Monday to Friday between the hours of 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. Now, it's important for us to highlight and showcase some of the leaders in the country and people who are some of the biggest change makers and movers and shakers. Now, we are chatting to Yoke van Dam. Now, she is actually called the Kintsugi Queen because of her ability to join, repair, and transform teams and turn them into something quite exceptional and wonderful. Now, she has stalked her hard-won reputation on the premise that all teams can be turned around to become collaborative, committed, and coercive superstars of the organizations they serve. She joins us tonight to tell us all about the great work she does for individuals as well as for organizations. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
It's very exciting to be here. Thanks for the opportunity.
It's a pleasure chatting to you. I want to get straight into this conversation right now. I know that you are someone who's very passionate about teams, but you're also very passionate about transforming teams and turning them into something incredible. How did that all come about? How did your background lead you to become this type of person?
For many years when I was in training, I got super frustrated because I would work for companies and they would say, we have this amazing culture and we have these values and you have to train these people about these things. But when you saw the managers, they weren't actually living the values of the company. And I saw toxic teams roll out and different departments really operating as silos and fighting against each other. And when I went out on my own in 2017, starting Y Connect, I really had this really deep desire to bring change in organizations from the inside out. And that's where I realized my love is actually to transform those fractured teams and to turn them into something quite wonderful. So that's where that whole Kintsugi Queen concept comes from. It's a Japanese concept, which is a broken pot. I'm not sure if you've seen it.
No, I haven't.
And then they actually put it back together, but they're making use of gold.
Oh, wow.
So if you think of that transformation, a former fractured team can actually become something more remarkable and more meaningful. And for me, I've seen that. So now clients actually ask me and they actually say to me, we hear you yield teams. We have a toxic team. We have a fractured team. And I get that type of work. And then through the interventions and the coaching work, people start actually making changes from the inside, changing habits, having better EQ, and ultimately working together better as teams.
Yeah, I think it's such an important thing. And you look at a lot of corporate spaces, you know, a lot of businesses don't achieve their financial goals or even their expansion goals because, for example, the teams might be toxic or there might be an issue within the team that can be rectified very easily, but because they don't understand or have the necessary EQ, you know, they then struggle through that process. So you do play a very important role. But I want to touch back on, you know, back in the journey, when you started off as a saleswoman, very young at 15, selling pizzas as well, getting in that space. How did that get you to learn skills that today you can use to be able to change lives and impact lives as well?
I think from a very young age, my parents taught us that we needed to actually build our own income and they weren't just going to give us handouts. And as an entrepreneur, you know that the success of your business lies in your sales. So I've always known that a healthy cash flow is important and that it's also very important that you don't just get in money, but you actually hold on to money. So it's actually about the money mindset and saving and ultimately growing a business. You need to know that you need to invest in your marketing. I've invested in a lot of courses, international coaching, mentorships. So throughout COVID, I was actually spending a lot of money investing in my business, which then had a drastic impact on getting more international clients because I wasn't stopping from spending the money and investing in myself and in my business. And I think that has really helped me throughout my life. You need to have a mindset of growth. You need to have a mindset of personal development forever and know that the kind of jobs and opportunities that is still going to come around in the next 10 years, people don't even know about right now. So if you're not going to continuously learn and grow and evolve, Alan Weiss says, the $1 Million Consultant, while you were sleeping, the world has changed. Sure. So if we go into business and we make use of the same mindset as yesterday, we're going to actually move backwards, not even stand still.
Yeah, I love that. I just want to touch on executives in South Africa, and you talk about some of your higher positions, you know, be it your CEOs, COOs, And even your chairman positions in a lot of your different corporate companies in South Africa, they earn very well. I mean, they get some of the best salaries you can ever expect. But there's a lot of skills that are needed or required by someone like that, because you are leading an entire organization or a team. And one of those has to be, a very persuasive communicator. You have to be able to have the EQ to be able to manage teams and get them to buy into your vision, I want to touch on the work that you do at Y Connect. Now, I know Y Connect plays a very important role in connecting those high-profile individuals, but also your everyday people to learn how to communicate more and do better. Maybe share with us a little bit of the work that Y Connect does in that sense.
For me, it's all about helping leaders and teams to build their confidence, find their flow, and influence better. So specifically with leaders, the type of work that I've done with CEOs and top-end executives is they have all the knowledge, but they can't tell a story, and they can't actually grasp people's emotions. So when they can actually learn, like you say, to become persuasive communicators. So in March this year, I was in Dubai, and again in September, and I was in March doing a Women in Leadership program. And there I dealt with high-end executive women who had to learn how to do media interviews, how to speak on large stages, and speak in a way that people can actually remember them. So very often, a person can be very product-focused or organization-focused, but if you're not actually touching on the heartstrings of people, for people to feel it, hear it, and do something about it, nothing's going to happen. So that's one of the programs that I do. It's all about becoming a persuasive communicator. Then there's a lot of team interventions I do, as I said, like the fractured teams. So one of the companies I've been dealing with for the last 4 years, every year, twice a year, they ask me, Yoke, we have another team, we have an issue. And I get a brief from them, and we often work through things like Patrick Lencioni's 5 dysfunctions of a team, which is really the core symptoms that causes teams to break up. So we build trust, psychological safety, we get them to work on their commitment, accountability, and like today, I was doing a coaching session with the leader. So they'll do a team intervention, but then they'll either do group coaching or continuous leadership development. Because change doesn't happen. It's not a magic wand like, woo, suddenly everyone is healed. It takes time for habits and change to take place. So you actually see with the continuous interventions, coaching work, where they start taking small incremental changes, and when that leader changes, it has a massive impact on the group. So today, I sat with a group from Dubai, and on Friday, I saw 4 groups that were doing feedback for over the last 5 weeks. They were doing implementation on the leadership training that we did, and they had to present back a leadership development plan. So now they're telling me stories of how they're inspiring your team. So they picked up things from the training, and one of the guys, I loved it, he said to me, he started delegating this, and he realized to motivate the team, every Friday they want them to do breakfast. So he said to the one lady, can you arrange this? So they have lots of different cultures and nationalities. So they have people from Egypt, Jordan, different places. And now every time, every week, they have a different theme with different food from a different country, which is represented in their team. And they get that casual environment. And suddenly the productivity is shut up. The people are sharing deeply. So I love it when I spark the ideas in people, but they make it their own. And they go do something about it. So for me, it's not about, I do speaking as well, but ultimately it is to inspire, but you want to change habits. You want to change behavior. You want to change mindset. That's really, for me, what it's about.
And I love that you mentioned that, and I think that's so powerful. We can just talk about someone who is a very prominent speaker in South Africa by the name of Vusi Thembekwayo. And he emphasized the fact that, if you're looking at the people who really invest in self-development are the ones who actually go for behavioral change coaching. And I always used to have a raised eyebrow because I never understood what that actually means. So at least you can now share that with me. By any chance, can you share what is behavioral change coaching and what does it actually stand for?
Behavior is what you do. So when I studied NLP, it's all about neuro-linguistic programming. So neuro refers to your thoughts and your patterns of behavior. So what we do often becomes our reality. So they say 70 to 90% of our thoughts are the same and are negative. So I was coaching a lady today on my couch and I said to her, you might be feeling negative right now. This is normal. But if you're not going to do something about it and interrupt yourself and focus and reframe and come up with strategies to change that thought pattern, that's just going to be your reality. So the more often you do something, it's almost like you're laying train tracks in your brain. So originally, if you're doing the same thing, let's say you go to gym. It's the first time. It's really hard. Don't want to do it. You don't want to get up. But by the third time that you've packed your gym bag, put on your shoes, gotten in the car, it just becomes easier and easier. So eventually you are creating this path in your brain where naturally you just go there. So that's what I believe with NLP coaching and behavioral change coaching. You're actually focusing on changing the behaviors to be more aligned to the core values. But I tend to focus on a higher level. I believe that we need to focus on purpose and identity. So there's this model NLP where they say the higher up you go on the neurological levels of change, the bigger it impacts everything below it. So if you go on a purpose level, so I'm sure you've heard Simon Sinek, starting with why. Yes. Why is your purpose? And then below it is identity, who you are. So if someone is an alcoholic and suddenly they realize if on a purpose level, suddenly they're like, no, I want to have a different life. I want to make an impact on this world. And let's say they become a father. Their identity shifts. Now suddenly it has an impact on where they hang out and their behavior. Now they're not going to go to the pub anymore. Now they're going to want to take their child playing or go to the crèche. So when you actually shift identity and purpose, that's where you have a much bigger impact on impacting behavior.
Yeah, I really love that, and I think that was so powerful. But before we let you go, I just wanted to ask, we are getting a lot of questions coming in from social media. I think it comes down to the idea of, being updated and knowing exactly what's happening, because we see that technology is changing all the time, and the way that people run businesses has changed so much. How do you stay updated when it comes to all of the different aspects, that you're currently busy with? How do you make sure that you're providing the best solution and the latest best solution right now?
I'm part of, as I said, a part of international coaching programs. I'm part of international training facilitators where we keep on learning from each other, and I keep on reinvesting in myself. And I'm part of the professional speakers of Southern Africa. And in that space, you need to have a really deep knowledge to be able to confidently speak about something. So they're saying I'm doing a keynote in 2 weeks. And your knowledge, even though you're speaking for an hour, you need to have almost like 2 weeks worth of content and knowledge on a deep level to be able to just do a keynote of an hour. So I think it's important to stay up to date, stay up to date in terms of the news and what's happening in the world and tie it back.
I love that. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome, guys. That is Yoke van Dam, who is actually an incredible coach when it comes to teaching teams and building some phenomenal teams and, rectifying any issues they might have. If you do have a team out there, if you are an employer and you do have a team under you, make sure that you do get into contact with her so that she can provide those incredible services. But on that note, we are going to take a quick ad break. We'll come right back.